Imagine stepping into, a really high pressure meeting.
Oh, those are the worst.
Right. You look at your boss or maybe like a massive new client right in the eye, and you try to offer this solid, bankable guarantee about a major deadline.
Okay, I'm stressed just thinking about it.
And you have the sentence perfectly constructed in your head. But because you tweaked one tiny auxiliary verb in the moment, like maybe you swapped will for would, you haven't just made a minor grammatical slip-up.
No, you've done way more than that.
Exactly. You've actually told a room full of stakeholders that finishing the project by Friday is basically a complete fantasy.
It is genuinely terrifying when you realize what's actually happening under the surface of those exchanges.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd think you were communicating a highly practical, actionable plan for tomorrow, but structurally, the words you just used plunged the entire conversation into a daydream. Or conversely, you think you're expressing this profound, heartfelt regret about a past mistake, but your grammar signals to the listener that you're just, casually wishing your current lifestyle was a bit different.
We've all been there, and it's just agonizing. You construct a sentence that feels completely logical to you, but the reaction you get from a native speaker is just pure, unadulterated confusion.
Right.
So today's deep dive is all about fixing that specific friction point. We are extracting the core insights from our source today, which is mastering the 3 pillars of English conditionals.
That's such a great breakdown.
It really is. And since you're listening to this, you already know the basic mechanics. I mean, we all know what an if statement is.
Sure.
We aren't going to insult your intelligence by diagramming sentences like a 5th grade textbook.
Yep.
Our mission today is to decode the hidden psychological relationship between condition and time.
That's the real secret.
Exactly. So you can permanently stop crossing the wires between if I have, if I had, and if I had known. Okay, let's unpack this because I promise you, by the end of this deep dive, you're going to stop accidentally breaking the reality of your conversations.
That's the perfect way to phrase it. Actually breaking reality. We are moving completely away from the rigid grammar formulas today.
Thank goodness.
Right. Instead, we're going to look at human behavior. We need to connect the mechanical structure of the language to the deep human emotions they carry.
Like what kind of emotions?
Well, from grounded real-world contracts to our wildest imaginations to, our heaviest regrets.
Yeah.
Because the incredible thing about English conditionals is that once you grasp the emotion dictating the structure, the exact words you need just fall naturally into place.
Okay, so let's start with what happens when we are dealing with actual reality, the stuff that could genuinely happen in your daily life.
The first pillar.
Right. Let's look at the if I have structure. Forget the grammar book labels for a second. Let's just call this the reality track.
I like that. The reality track.
Yeah, we are talking about real, present, or future possibilities. Like, if I have the budget, I will approve the project. Or, if it rains tomorrow, we will move the event indoors.
Simple enough.
To me, this doesn't feel like a grammar rule. It feels like, I don't know, signing a legal contract.
That is a remarkably accurate way to conceptualize it. It is literally a contractual guarantee.
A guarantee.
Exactly. You have an input, and if that input is met, you are guaranteeing a specific future output. And notice how incredibly grounded that is.
Right, because it might actually rain.
Yes. You might actually have the budget by Q3. It might actually rain tomorrow morning. By choosing this specific phrasing, you are signaling to the listener, hey, this is a totally viable scenario in the real world, and if it triggers, here's the guaranteed consequence.
Right, you're locked in. But here's where it gets really interesting, because the source points out a massive psychological trap that learners fall into right here.
Oh, the will trap?
Yes. When you were talking about tomorrow or next year, human nature dictates that your brain immediately projects into the future.
Right.
So people constantly try to force the word will into the condition itself. They desperately want to say, if it will rain tomorrow, we will move indoors.
It happens all the time.
I completely understand the urge to do that, honestly. But why does that sound so incredibly grating to a native ear?
What's fascinating here is that it's actually a perfectly logical overcorrection. It's based entirely on how we experience time.
Right, because we're thinking about tomorrow.
Exactly. You are thinking about a future event, so your brain reflexively reaches for the future tense. But English has a built-in efficiency measure that learners, they just often overlook.
Which is what?
The word if inherently implies a condition that hasn't materialized yet.
Oh.
When you pair if with a simple present tense verb like if it rains, that combination is robust enough to anchor the entire future possibility all on its own.
Wait, so let me make sure I'm wrapping my head around this. if I throw will into the if clause, I'm basically being redundant.
Totally redundant.
It's like if is a spotlight already pointing at tomorrow, so the verb itself can just, relax in the present.
Precisely. You do not need double future marking. The rule of thumb the source emphasizes is to strictly save will for the consequence.
Save it for the consequence.
Okay. The condition sets the stage in the present. If the client signs, the consequence tells you the future outcome. We will pop the champagne.
Yeah, that makes so much sense.
The friction just disappears the moment you trust that the present tense is strong enough to hold the weight of tomorrow.
Trust the present tense. I like that a lot. But let me push back a little, because reality is honestly kind of boring.
It can be, yeah.
The moment we know what's practically possible, human nature instantly makes us want what we can't have right now.
Very true.
Like, the budget isn't approved. The client didn't sign. So how does the language shift when we abandon that practical contract and start daydreaming?
This is where we step onto the daydream track, which is what the source calls the if I had structure.
Okay, the daydream track.
And this is where the English language does something brilliant. We move from practical realities to unreal present situations, your current desires, your wishes.
Like, if I had $1 million, I would retire immediately.
Exactly. Or, if she knew the answer, she would tell us.
And this is the exact moment where I remember getting completely lost in English class. Because the source highlights this crucial twist. We are using the past tense here.
Right. If I had, if she knew.
Yeah, but we are emphatically not talking about the past. I don't have $1 million right now. She doesn't know the answer today.
Correct.
I always found that baffling. Why on earth are we using a clock like the past tense to describe something happening right now?
Because in this specific context, it isn't a clock at all. It's a ruler.
A ruler?
Yes. The English language has effectively hijacked the past tense to signify emotional distance rather than time distance.
Oh.
By shifting the verb one step backward into the past, you are throwing up a massive flag to the listener that says, hey, we are stepping out of reality now. We are entering my imagination.
That is wild.
It really is. The past tense is creating a psychological buffer between what is actually true in your life and what you are merely visualizing.
That is the ultimate aha moment for me. The past tense is pulling double duty. It's not a clock, it's an emotional ruler.
A ruler.
You are deliberately distancing yourself from the truth of the present moment. And because we aren't in reality anymore, we can't use our legal contract word will, right?
Right, you can't guarantee a daydream.
So we have to soften it to would, like I would retire immediately.
Exactly. You are matching an imaginary condition with an imaginary consequence.
Yeah.
Now, there's a subtle formal quirk the source mentions here, specifically regarding the verb to be.
Oh, right, the were thing.
Yes. In this imaginary space, traditional grammar uses were for everyone. If I were rich, not if I was rich. If she were the CEO, not if she was.
But honestly, if I'm at a bar with friends saying, if I were you, sounds a bit stiff. Does it really matter in the real world?
In a pub? No, nobody cares. You will hear was in casual speech constantly.
Okay, good.
But in a negotiation or a formal email to the board. Absolutely. Because were is the technically precise way to signal deliberate hypothetical distance. It shows a command of nuance.
Good to keep in mind, for sure. But I want to go back to this idea of cognitive dissonance, because the source zeroes in on the absolute chaos that happens when you mix these two tracks.
Oh, it is pure chaos.
Let's say someone is planning a weekend trip and says, if I have time, I would call you.
Oh, right.
They're using the reality track for the condition, if I have, but the daydream track for the consequence, I would call. I always thought mixing those up just sounded a bit, clumsy. I didn't realize it actively breaks the listener's brain.
It really does.
What exactly is happening in my head when someone says that to me?
When you mix those tracks, you are forcing the listener to occupy two completely different realities at the exact same millisecond.
Wow.
Think about it. The if I have time segment fires off a signal, get ready. This is a real possibility. This might actually happen. The listener's brain starts preparing for a practical outcome.
Right.
But then you slam them with I would call you, which abruptly cancels the reality check and says, never mind, this is just a fantasy.
You're giving them conversational whiplash.
It is total whiplash. You are simultaneously promising a reality and delivering a fantasy. The listener is left completely unmoored.
So they don't know what to expect.
Exactly. They don't know if they should genuinely expect a phone call from you or if you're just complaining about your busy schedule. You have to commit to the lane you are in.
Right.
If it's a real plan, stay grounded. If I have time, I will call. If you are just wishing your schedule was lighter, stay in the daydream. If I had more time, I would call.
Choose your reality and commit to it. I love that. It's so deeply human, though. We spend half our waking hours hovering in that daydream track, wishing we had more leverage, more resources, more time.
We really do. But the daydream track is still about the present. It's still relatively light, psychologically speaking.
Right, because it's just wishes.
Exactly. The real heavy lifting comes when we have to take the final step. We have to move backward in time to confront the unchangeable past.
Oh boy. The regret track.
The regret track.
The if I had known structure. This is where things get emotionally heavy. We aren't dealing with practical futures or present wishes anymore. We are dealing with missed opportunities, catastrophic mistakes, and sometimes, I guess, profound gratitude.
Yeah, both sides of the coin.
Like, if I'd known you were coming, I would have prepared dinner. Or if we had invested early, the company would have survived.
The mechanics here require another step back in distance. To establish the alternate past reality, we use the past perfect had plus the past participle. If I had known.
Right.
And the consequence relies on would have plus the past participle. I would have prepared.
To me, this track is like standing in front of a reinforced glass window looking into a time machine.
I love that image.
But it's a time machine that strictly enforces a look but don't touch policy. You are permanently locked in the reality of what actually occurred. I didn't know you were coming, so I didn't make dinner.
Right.
We didn't invest, so the company went under. Those facts are just cemented in history. But this specific grammar structure gives you the power to view an alternative timeline. You can look at what would have happened if just one single variable in the past had been tweaked.
That reinforced glass window analogy is brilliant. You are looking at a past you are completely powerless to change, which is exactly why these sentences carry immense emotional weight.
They really do.
You are exposing your deepest vulnerabilities, your regrets, your ultimate what-ifs. And because the emotional stakes are so high, slipping up on the mechanics here shatters the illusion completely.
And the source points out two massive pitfalls here that shatter that illusion. The first is dropping the anchor entirely by forgetting the word had.
Yes, very common.
People will say, if I knew earlier, I would have told you. Why is had so easy to forget?
Because it's a tiny, unstressed auxiliary word that often gets swallowed in native speech as a contraction.
Oh, like if I'd known.
Exactly. Native speakers often just say, if I'd known. So learners don't hear it clearly and they just drop it. But if you drop the had, you accidentally drag the listener back into the daydream track.
Oh, because if I knew is the present track.
Yes. If I knew is an unreal present wish. But you were trying to talk about a mistake from yesterday.
Oh, wow. That's a huge crash.
It is. The had is not optional. It is the engine of the time machine. Without it, you aren't looking at the past at all.
So if I had known is non-negotiable. But I think the second pitfall is even more insidious. It's the urge to shove the consequence into the condition, saying, if I would have known, I would have told you. I hear native speakers do this all the time, frankly.
It's incredibly common, and it stems from the exact same psychological urge as throwing will into the reality track.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The speaker is so overwhelmingly focused on the imagined consequence, the would have, that the emotion just bleeds over into the condition.
That makes a lot of sense.
But the roles are strictly defined. The condition, if I had known, simply sets the stage of the alternate reality.
Okay.
The consequence, I would have told you, is the action that takes place on that stage. When you try to swap their jobs, the internal logic of the timeline just collapses.
So what does this all mean for the person listening right now? We've talked about emotional rulers, reinforced glass time machines, and cognitive whiplash.
We've covered a lot.
How do you actually get this to lock into your brain so you aren't sweating bullets in a meeting trying to remember where the had goes?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the absolute worst thing you can do is try to memorize these concepts as abstract rules on a whiteboard.
Right.
The secret to permanent retention is writing out highly personal, deeply emotional sentences.
Like about your own life.
Exactly. Sit down tonight and write, if I had taken that risk 10 years ago, my life would have been entirely different. Wow. When you anchor a complex grammatical mechanism to a genuine, lived emotion, your brain stops treating it as syntax.
What does it treat it as?
It treats it as survival data. Your brain flags it as essential, and that is how the structure sticks forever.
You have to feel the grammar to internalize it. That is powerful. Okay, we've laid out the tracks. Now we need to test how they handle a real-life collision.
Let's do it.
Let's synthesize this by running through the comparative example from the source, the scenario of missing a train. I want to see how merely shifting the auxiliary verbs completely alters the reality of the exact same situation.
Okay. Scenario 1. You are looking at your schedule for tomorrow. You want to catch a train. This is a real, grounded possibility. You use a reality track. If I have enough time tomorrow, I will take the early train.
Present condition, guaranteed future consequence. It's a practical contract.
Perfect. Scenario 2. You are looking at your life right now. You are incredibly frustrated because you don't own a vehicle, and relying on public transit is exhausting.
Yeah.
This is a present desire. You use the daydream track. If I had a car, I would never miss the train.
We use the past tense to create that emotional distance. It's an imaginary alternative to your current daily life.
Exactly. Now, scenario 3. It is yesterday. You overslept. You sprinted to the station, but you watched the doors close and the train pull away.
The worst feeling.
You are standing on the platform staring at an unchangeable past. This is an unreal past regret. You use the regret track. If I had left 10 minutes earlier, I would have caught the train.
You are looking through the time machine window at the alternate timeline.
You got it.
Real future. Imaginary present. Unchangeable past. 3 entirely distinct realities manipulated entirely by the verbs you choose.
It's beautiful, really.
And I want to pause here to address something the source is very adamant about. If you catch yourself mixing up these tracks, if you accidentally give someone conversational whiplash, it doesn't mean your English is failing.
Not at all. It actually signals that your brain is engaged in complex, high-level processing.
That's reassuring.
You are pushing the boundaries of your communication. The fact that you are now aware of the friction-like, why mixing realities feels jarring, why the past tense implies distance, that awareness is a massive leap forward.
So let's turn that awareness into instinct. Our source stresses the absolute necessity of physical, interactive practice.
Yes, practice is key.
I'm challenging you, listening to this right now, to try this today. Find a private moment. Think of one practical plan for your future, one wild wish for your present, and one stinging regret from your past.
And speak them out loud.
Yes, speak those sentences out loud. Don't just visualize them in your head. Your mouth actually needs to feel the mechanical difference between a sharp, contract-like will, a softer, distant would, and the heavy, anchored would have.
That physical muscle memory is what bridges the gap between knowing a rule and wielding a tool.
I love that phrase, wielding a tool.
Well, once you mastered the emotional logic behind these tracks, you aren't just reciting vocabulary anymore. You essentially acquire grammatical superpowers.
Superpowers.
Literally. You gain the ability to manipulate time, to bend reality, and to instantly communicate complex emotional landscapes.
You really do. You can teleport someone from a grounded boardroom strategy directly into your deepest personal regrets, and they will follow you effortlessly because the structure guides them safely.
Exactly.
Okay, we have covered some serious ground today. We completely abandoned the rigid textbook formulas. We learned that the reality track doesn't need will in the condition because the present tense is strong enough to hold the future.
We explored how the daydream track brilliantly uses the past tense as an emotional ruler, not a clock, to distance us from reality.
And we looked through the unchangeable glass of the regret track, locking in had to safely view our alternate pasts without breaking the timeline. I feel like I'm looking at the whole language through a completely different lens. Thank you for helping us untangle this.
It's been fantastic to pull this apart with you. But, looking closely at that final piece, the regret track, this raises an important question.
Oh, what's that?
The source touches on how grammar fundamentally shapes our emotional expression. We know that language dictates how we frame reality.
Sure.
So if we truly master the unreal past conditional, wait, let me rephrase that. If we truly master this structure, does it actually alter how we process our own memories?
Oh, wow.
Think about it. When we stop using chaotic, mixed up tenses to talk about our past mistakes, and instead use this incredibly precise, deliberate structure to define exactly what happened and what didn't,
Yeah.
could the literal grammatical framework we use to describe our past actually be the key to helping us emotionally heal from it?
That is profound. Are we just fixing our grammar, or are we structurally organizing our own psychological baggage?
Exactly.
That is an incredible thought to end on. So the next time you open your mouth to make a guarantee, or share a wish, or confess a regret, look, take 1 second. Decide which reality you actually want to inhabit.
And then choose your track.
Exactly. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive, and we highly encourage you to mull that over until next time.